There have been 5 times on our blue Earth when there was only snow and severe winter. Such periods are called ice ages. These ice ages spanned hundreds and thousands of years. The last ice age on our Earth also lasted for several thousand years. Man of this last ice age lived in caves and went out in groups to hunt. During the same last ice age, about 20 to 25,000 years ago, a hunting party from Siberia went out in search of prey, roaming about and searching the shrubs, caves and rocks. This group lost their way and went into a path that unconsciously led to a new world. This hunting party did not know at all that the ice track they were moving, slipping and steadying was actually a temporary short passage between the 2 great continents. This route came up simply because, in the Ice Age, due to freezing of the seas, the water level had gone much down. Dunes, small islands and channels between islands emerged in the seas. This was also one such way. This hunter group, carrying the genes of the old world, crossed the narrow path and settled in the new world, and then stayed there for good. 11,000 years ago, the last ice age on our Earth ended. The sea level rose again, and that narrow dry passage sank once more into the deep waters. The very passage that this hunter group had once crossed to reach the new world. Thus, the land route between the old and the new world was cut off forever. We call this place the Bering Strait. On this strait is also a point from where the distance between the new and the old world is only 85 kilometers. But the man of the old world took 10,500 years to cover this distance of 85 kilometers. How were these thousands of years in the new world? Who and how was this world discovered? What happened to the original inhabitants here? And how did a country here become a world superpower of the day? Welcome to Timeline Stories, showing you the tale of that lost land, the history of America. The hunting group, which went into the New World, went on spreading in this large dry land for thousands of years. They founded great civilizations and made numerous settlements and islands. Look at this map. This is a very old map of the New World, the American continent. In what is now Mexico, there used to be a great empire, the Aztec Empire, spread over an area of more than 200,000 square kilometers. This empire included about 500 states where 6 million people lived. The area south of the Aztec Empire was the seat of the Maya civilization. This civilization was about 4,000 years old. It had earned huge fame in art, culture, and architecture. After the Maya, another great civilization, the Inca Empire, also existed. This empire spread from Ecuador to Chile and Argentina. The population of this kingdom was about 12 million. Besides these 3 major civilizations, many small settlements also flourished. In the islands of the West Indies lived the Arawak people. Native American tribes lived across the continent, from Canada to Brazil and Argentina. Most of them lived in small settlements. You can call them villages. Maize was their favorite food, grown on a large scale. These corn-loving New Worlders numbered in the millions. At the same time, there were around 5 million people living in the Old World. But these 2 sides were totally ignorant of each other. For them, no other world existed, neither in stories, nor on any map, nor in anyone's memory, because the contact between the 2 worlds had been cut 11,000 years ago. Yes, it's true. There are stories telling that some strays from the Old World landed on the islands of the New World, and some of them even wrote about it. Chinese poetry, written 700 years ago, mentions a distant foreign land. In Chinese poetry, this land was called Fusang, which means out of 10 world, a place beyond our world. The poet wrote that to the east of the East Sea are the shores of Fusang. After landing there, if one travels another 5,000 kilometers toward the east, another sea appears, blue, vast and limitless. It may have been America itself, because the continental United States lies just to the east of China, and beyond it, begins the Atlantic Ocean. Similarly, in 458 AD, an Afghan Buddhist monk Huishen, with 4 companions, started a journey from China to the east. He returned after living in a foreign land for 40 years, which he, as per Chinese tradition, named Fusan. He even wrote a travelogue describing the people and their customs there. 500 years after Huishen, the Viking tribes of northern Europe also arrived in America. They settled in the area of Newfoundland, where Canada is today. Models of these settlements still exist. Like the Chinese and the Vikings, some Muslims also claim to have reached America in the era of the Umayyad ruler of Spain, Abdurrahman III. They claim to have settled there, built mosques, and preached Islam. Some Hindu scholars also claim that their gods were worshipped by Native Americans. According to them, a Hindu from India once reached America. That's why ancient American tribes worshipped similar gods. There are many such claims, but it makes little difference whether these claims are true or not. The real difference was who actually discovered this world and truly understood that it was a new world, and then linked it with the old world, where people started to travel in and out freely. This link was not made by the Chinese discovery, the journey of Buddhist Pathans, or the adventures of Muslim or Hindu sailors. Nor did they understand that there were 2 worlds. The 1,000-year alienation between both worlds continued for thousands of years more. People of the old world believed that the world ended at the shores of Europe and Africa. And the American tribes also believed that beyond their coasts, there was only endless water and nothing else. Out of sight is out of mind, and this distance might have continued for thousands of years more. But then came a turning point, the 15th century. It changed everything on the globe. The man of the old world, especially Europe, was now forced to come out of his comfort zone and search for new lands and new routes. And the reason for this sudden shift was the Muslim conquerors. What was this shift? This old world, which the Native Americans had left 25,000 years ago. Here, before the 15th century, Europe was a major power. It was dominant, and for hundreds of years, the Roman Empire had been the superpower of the world. It ruled vast parts of Asia as well. Gradually, the Roman Empire weakened and shrank into the Byzantine Empire, and what was left of it? Just one city, Constantinople. This empire now stood merely on memories of past glory and its strong walls. Then, in 1453, the Turks ended even that last symbol of Roman power. Turkish Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror took Constantinople, ending the Roman Empire forever. The city's name was changed to Istanbul. With the fall of Constantinople, Europe's power collapsed, and so did its pride. The 15th century became the age of Europe's lament. Constantinople wasn't just a military stronghold, it was also a holy city, the center of Orthodox Christianity. It had been founded by Constantine, the first Christian emperor of Rome, who had also built the magnificent church Hagia Sophia. For Christians across Europe, this city held sacred importance. But beyond that, it was also their lifeline of trade. From the markets of Central Asia, Chinese silk, spices, precious stones, gold, and silver used to pass through Constantinople to reach Europe. With its fall, this route was closed, and Europe was struck both economically and spiritually. Economically, trade collapsed, and joblessness spread like wildfire. People became so poor that many had no food to eat. Driven by hunger, parents abandoned their children in garbage heaps. Farmers burdened by loans took their own lives or lived like slaves to rich landlords. Crime flooded the streets of Europe, so much so that pedestrians began walking with their heads raised. Because criminals in houses would throw stones down to crush the heads of passers-by, and then rob whatever they could from the dead bodies. Wealthy people hired guards, but ordinary citizens were killed openly. The royal guards, too, were helpless. This was Europe's economic disaster, born from the fall of Constantinople and the closure of trade routes. But the spiritual disaster was just as deep. The devout Christians believed that the Muslim expansion was shrinking the Christian world day by day. They feared Christianity itself might vanish. So the Europeans, their clergy, their merchants, their rulers, began looking desperately for a new route, a new world. But where could they find it? They had no idea that just 4,000 to 5,000 kilometers westward lay an entire continent, rich in gold, silver, and oil. They only knew of the East, of China and Japan. The names of these faraway lands were once again being whispered across Europe, thanks to one book, The Travels of Marco Polo. Marco Polo's travelogue spoke of China as Cathay and Japan as Zipangu. He wrote that in Japan, the roofs of palaces were made of gold, and even the doors and floors were gold-plated. He exaggerated, but in the poverty of 15th century Europe, his book was like a spark of hope. It inspired a new generation of adventurers to find their way to these golden lands. But there was a problem. The land routes were now blocked by the Turks, and the sea routes through the Mediterranean were dominated by Muslim empires, from Morocco to Egypt, whose fleets attacked European merchant ships. Europe was, in every sense, surrounded by Islam. A few explorers like Bartolomeu Dias tried to find new sea routes by going around Africa, but those journeys took months. Europe needed a shortcut, a safer, faster route to Asia. It was at this moment that an unknown Italian sailor came forward, claiming to know the shortest route to China and Japan. His idea was simple, yet bold. Sail straight west across the Atlantic Ocean. No powerful empire stood in that direction. And if he was right, Europe could reach Asia without crossing any Muslim lands. It was a daring plan that could change the fate of Europe. The sailor's name was Christopher Columbus. Born in Genoa, Italy, Columbus had spent his life at sea. He was deeply inspired by the writings of Marco Polo. He claimed mastery in reading the stars, the moon, and the sun to navigate. At that time, educated people already knew that the Earth was round. Columbus believed that if one sailed westward from Europe, they could reach Japan, about 4,500 kilometers away. If he could find this short route, he could reach not just Japan but China, and through them, all of Asia. To Columbus, this was not just about gold and trade, it was about glory and faith. He even called himself the Christ bearer, after the legendary Saint Christopher who carried Jesus Christ across the river. Like that old legend, Columbus dreamed that he too would carry Christ across the ocean and spread Christianity to a new world. He went from court to court in Europe, from Italy to Portugal, from Portugal to England, pleading for funds for his voyage. But Europe was poor, and no king or queen wanted to risk money on his dream. Still, Columbus did not give up. In 1485, he reached Spain, ruled then by King Ferdinand II and Queen Isabella. He spent 7 long years just trying to meet the Queen. At the time, the King and Queen were busy fighting to drive the Muslims out of Spain. Finally, in 1491, when Granada, the last Muslim stronghold in Spain, was near defeat, the Queen summoned Columbus to her court. Columbus presented his grand plan, that he would find a westward route to China and Japan, bringing back unimaginable wealth. He promised that the lands he would discover would make Spain the richest empire in the world. And he vowed to spread Christianity there as well. Queen Isabella, moved by both faith and ambition, agreed to fund his expedition. Columbus finally got his chance, but the Queen didn't know. Columbus was not telling the full truth. He even deceived his own sailors, hiding crucial facts that would soon put all their lives in danger. What was that deception? Why did his crew plan to kill him in the middle of the ocean? And what did Columbus promise his men in his desperate attempt to reach Asia? All that in the next chapter of the History of America.